So I thought an interesting thing to talk about that might be kind of helpful depending on who you are or just really weird and funny would be the investment bank recruiting process, which I went through this year specifically. So I'm a sophomore and undergraduate. And the sophomore internships that they're mostly offering are diversity oriented. So it's kind of weird. They consider like women as a whole category to contribute diversity to the bank, even though, well, at the entry level, there are about just as many women as men. It depends also on what subsection you're working in, but I guess a lot of women like drop out of the sector and drop out of these different banks. So that as a whole thing is diversity. But also I've been involved in different like LGBTQ diversity recruiting, and I think it's just been really one of the things that stood out to me a lot is how little the process takes into account intersectionality. So there are a lot of there's, especially in like LGBT recruiting, there are a lot of gay men who have no other like demographic disadvantages. So when you, first of all, so they'll have you into these events, you apply for them online, and then they fly you to New York, and I'm from the West Coast. So I guess I did this maybe like 7 times this year. They'll fly you to the East Coast to New York, and they put you in a hotel, and then you sit in a room with like a bunch of other students all day, mostly listening to, people talk. Sometimes inspiring people, and like sometimes people from HR who might teach you just what the different divisions do, which is the same thing that you learned at every single other bank who hosted this event. But then towards the end, they, will put you in a room with a bunch of professionals who are part of like the women's network or part of the LGBTQ network. And depending on who you talk to, they'll really give you very different advice about how to interview. So some of the gay men I talked to who really already did have fathers who had worked in investment banking or elsewhere in finance or law or other kind of high-end professions said, like you come in here and you really don't need to know what you want to do for the rest of your life. It's totally acceptable to just be trying this out, and like people know that. That's what especially the sophomore internship is about. And then like depending on who your interviewers are, though, later on in the process, people really want you to be saying that you want to do this for the rest of your life, even if it's pretty clear to them that you don't know what this is at all. So yeah, I guess I thought it was a really interesting experience to see the corporate world in this way, and see some of the